Well, hello there, everyone. I thought I'd do something a little bit unusual and come on about a minute or so earlier than planned. So, we're going to be talking about the mass shooting that happened in Madison, in Wisconsin. Now, obviously, these keep happening, these events, and the question is, why do they keep happening? Hey, Karen, how are you? I hope you are well. So, there has been numerous updates. I'm going to go through some of those, obviously, with you as well. And there's also some other stuff that's kind of been leaking out through the day yesterday, obviously US time through to today into the UK. Now, they've been quite good, I think, with the updates, but what we know, or what we knew at the time, was that this shooting had occurred. A 911 call had been put out. Now, apparently, they got there within 3 minutes to deal with this situation. And when they got there, they had 3 people that had died. Well, actually, it's now since come out that the shooter had died on the way to the hospital. So, just so that we can all catch up and it's easier, I figured we'll do the press conferences. And in between, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that has started to leak out now. What I do know today is that they've obviously raided the home of the shooter. So it's going to be interesting to see what they find there. It's going to be interesting to see if the parents end up being prosecuted like the Crumblies were. I've spoken a little bit about this on my TikTok, but I wanted to bring it over here so that we can follow any developing news on this. So, the press conference yesterday. So I'm going to start with the first one that I came across. And this guy is pretty good. I quite like him. So let's go. I've skipped it forward, so we missed quite a bit of him walking up, and we can get rid of all of that. But this is yesterday's one, so this is kind of how it unfolded, basically, and we're gonna follow how this unfolded.
About violence in our community, specifically in one of the places that's most sacred to me as someone who loves education and to someone who has children that are in schools. So I'm gonna tell you what I know. I'll answer any questions that I can. There'll be a secondary briefing that our PIO will let you know about, okay? Today, around 10:57 a.m.,
Which
our
was yesterday.
officers were responding to a call of an active shooter at the Abundant Life Christian School here in Madison. When officers arrived, they found multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds. We train on this almost quarterly. The last time we trained on this as commanders was approximately 2 weeks ago. The protocols are simple. Stop the killing, stop the dying, find out who's doing this. And the officers did that, and they did that adamantly. We had officers from around the county and around the state that came in support of this particular incident. Officers located a juvenile who they believe was responsible for this deceased in the building. Additionally, the officers began administering life-saving efforts to anyone who was wounded and making sure that those persons were transported. What we know is that a total of about 7 persons were transported from the scene to area hospitals for treatment. We know that at least 3 people have lost their lives, including a juvenile person. I don't have any other information about those persons who have lost their lives, and I'm not going to release that until we have, of course, spoken with family members.
And a lot has unfolded
they are
on
fully
this.
aware of this tragic scene that occurred today. I want to thank all of the law enforcement partners and community members that came out to help. Our friends at the ATF. I've gotten calls from my friends at the FBI, the State Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Monona Police Department, our fire department. It goes on and on and on. Because this is something that we all prepare for, but we hope we never have to do.
And yet here
As
we
you
are
can see,
again.
we have a unification center that was immediately set up where parents and guardians and loved ones and grandparents wanted to get information about their loved ones, and we wanted to make sure that they were unified immediately. So we were doing more than one thing at one time. We're still going through methodically clearing that school, clearing every vehicle, and making certain that there's no other threats to this community, which we believe there are none. We immediately alerted our mayor's office, and I've been on the phone with her and her office constantly. We also alerted Madison schools. We put the schools on lockdown, but there's no threats to MMSD schools at this time. But we wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence in this particular case. Again, we're still going through collecting evidence, collecting information, making sure that our community is safe from what is a sad day for our community and for our country. And we have to do a little bit better. I don't have all the answers that you want right now, but I will tell you this: we have some of the best officers in the entire country. Our detectives are amazing. We're going to go and work hard and go through this scene so that we can piece together what exactly happened. Again, there'll be another briefing in about 2 hours. And if I have additional information, I will certainly let you know what that information is. Again,
And they were pretty good on doing all of the updates. I should actually put that on a little bit faster, shouldn't I? So obviously this is like the really early stages of this happening. They've come out and, they're trying to give the public information on the case and what is going on, which is quite difficult when you don't have all the answers. Obviously, you kind of get to know some of the information, but you can't release the information because you need to vet that information before you can release. I mean, there's been so much since all of this has happened, and there's been a lot that's gone on today and come out today as well. In regards to the suspect. So, they did. I feel that they did their due diligence. This is the kind of, yeah, we don't need the gun lessons from the US. That's the last thing we need. But the way that they kind of keep the public informed, updated, on the regular press conferences is something that the UK could certainly learn from.
Around 10:57 a.m., officers responded to an active shooter. They responded per our protocol. They found the person who they believe was responsible, who was down, deceased. We know that it's juvenile.
We know that's
We
not
know that there are
quite
other
accurate
persons who
now.
have lost their lives. We know that we've transported about 7 people after giving them life-saving measures. It's important to notice, too, that about 3 miles from here is our training center. Today, our special event team medics were in training. And so they got to practice in real time. They left the training center immediately and came down here and doing in real time what they were actually practicing for. And that's why training is so important, and making sure that we can provide the best possible training and the best possible response for our community members. I'm asking everyone to send your heartfelt wishes and prayers and thoughts yet again to a community, but this time it's my community. Dylan?
Yeah, who can we start over here with questions?
Chief, you mentioned you're a father, you're the police chief here in Madison. What emotions are you feeling right now after going through all that?
To be honest with you, I'm feeling a little dismayed now. I'm so close to Christmas. Every child, every person in that building is a victim and will be a victim forever.
And that
These
I
types
agree
of
with.
trauma don't just go away. And we need to figure out and try to piece together what exactly happened. And right now, my heart is heavy for my community. My heart is heavy for Madison, and we have to come together as a community and figure out what happened here and make sure that it doesn't happen in any other place that should be a refuge for students in our community.
You're right there.
What sort of gun-related policies, if any, were in place?
Thing is, it is going to happen again. It's going to happen
I'm
again.
not aware that the school had metal detectors, nor should schools have metal detectors. It's a
Well,
school,
you
it's
either
a
want the
safe space.
weapons or
So I don't know.
you
Again,
don't.
it is a private Christian school. It
And if
is
you're
not
going
under
to insist on them,
the
then
authority of MMSD.
I disagree.
That is something that we'll have to look into.
Chief, of the 7 victims, how many are students? How many are teachers?
We're not going to give. I'm not going to give any information about who the victims are, whether they're students, staff, or parents, because we need to make sure that we can notify people. I think that's the most important thing before we go any further.
But police didn't. They never fired their weapons.
That is correct.
Correct.
Let's follow that one question.
I don't know if it's a male or female, but the police department did not fire their weapons. Thank you.
Scott,
Are the 3 fatalities you mentioned including the suspected shooter?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
The 3 total.
That's correct.
Are the 7 that was transported, are the 3 fatalities within that 7 or addition to that?
Yes, within that 7. Yes, thank you.
Was the shooter a student at the school?
We believe the shooter was a student at the school. Yes.
What can you tell us about the status of the other transports?
We know that they range from minor injuries to life-threatening. I know that's a huge, spectrum, but that's what we know now. And so we need everyone, again, to send your thoughts and your prayers out to them. One thing I do know is that we have some of the best medical care in the country here in Madison. And so we hope that everyone will recover. But at this time, we don't know.
To be doing this.
So we did just get an update from our command post. 5 deceased at this time, 5 injured. So total 10.
You know what
So
kind of
total
gun was
10.
used?
Again, this is a ever evolving situation.
No, this was yesterday.
Just hearing that,
We're going from the
what does that
beginning.
make you think? How does that make you feel? That we have to do a better job in our community on a Monday, right? So close to Christmas, that we're updating victims. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done. And we're committed to doing that work. We just ask for your patience. I think the most important part is the reunification, again, that we spoke about, making sure that those persons who were in the schools, whether they're staff, students, or what have you, are reunified, and we have done that. Again, I want to say thank you to all our partners. Again, our
those
friends
kids
are
are
here
never going to
from
get
the
over this.
ATF. They're
Never.
going to help us. I heard the question about the gun. I don't know yet, which is why we have a great partnership with the ATF that will help us determine the origin of this gun and where it happened. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and we will have another press conference. Stephanie has the location.
We're doing 2:30 at Fire Station 14 in their community room. 2:30, Fire Station 14.
Okay.
So that was the first press conference that came out, and it never ceases to amaze me that all they can say is thoughts and prayers and everything else that goes along with that, but they don't seem to want to fix the actual problem and give a solution. So this is going to happen, and people are going to need continuous thoughts and prayers all the time, because these situations are always going to be ongoing, and that I can guarantee there'll be one at the start of the new year, because there'll always be someone like this student who was in the back there planning it, and it does seem like that this was planned from things that I'm seeing today. Let me just change the screen. But thoughts and prayers is not going to solve the problem. Sorting your gun laws, and I guess the word I'm going to use, and it's probably going to garner a lot of dislike, but being selfish that this amendment right is more important than the safety of your kids at school. And yet you've got this guy here, as good as he is at updating. Well, we don't want metal detectors in our school, but, we should be allowed to have our weapons. So, you've got to give. You've got to give. If you want your weapons and you're not prepared for the sake of your children to have these laws amended and changed, like we did in the UK. Yes, I know we get stabbings, but you get stabbings. Yes, we get shootings, but not in the way that you get shootings. And we don't have mass shootings. We don't have mass stabbings. We just don't. We needed Dunblane once, and we didn't repeat Dunblane. And so you need to look at that, and you need to be open to that. And if you're not open to that, which nobody seems to be, then you've got to be open to having the full works. It's going to have to be a normal thing for your children, as it is at the moment, bulletproof backpacks and going through metal detectors and being searched. If you absolutely insist that these weapons have to be in your hands, and you insist on and obviously if you insist on training your kids to use them and don't keep them locked away from them, then you deserve everything that you get if you get taken to court and put in prison. So if this girl's family, that we now know this is a girl as well, which is rare because it's normally males that do this sort of thing, but if this girl's parents now get taken to court, the same as the Crumbleys did, then I'm all up for that, because you've got to learn. You can't be teaching your kid to use the weapons, which they were doing, or the dad certainly was. You can see it in the thumbnail. Well, you can't be teaching them that and letting them have access to the weapons and then not have any repercussions should they use them in the way in which this person has now done, you know? Let me just change the screen. And we're going to go, where's my little present screen button on the, right, I think it's that one. Share that screen. So then we have the second one, which is this one. So I'm going to play this one. This gives us the next update.
Is doing a press conference to
I've
speak about
forwarded it a little bit
violence in our community, specifically in one of the places that's most sacred to me as someone who loves education and to someone who has children that are in schools. So I'm gonna tell you what I know. I'll answer any questions that I can. There'll be a secondary briefing that our PIO will let you know about, okay? Today, around 10:57 a.m., our officers were responding to a call of an active shooter at the Abundant Life Christian School here in Madison. When officers arrived, they found multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds. We train on this almost quarterly. The last time we trained on this as commanders was approximately 2 weeks ago. The protocols are simple. Stop the killing, stop the dying, find out who's doing this. And the officers did that, and they did that adamantly. We had officers from around the county and around the state that came in support of this particular incident. Officers located a juvenile who they believe was responsible for this deceased in the building. Additionally, the officers began administering life-saving.
Why has that come on? Why is that on there twice? Okay. I'll go with this one.
This is the part where, again, I would normally start by saying good afternoon and thanking you for being here, but under these circumstances, I'll just give you a minute to start your live streams.
I just realized, I was like, hang on a minute, these are supposed to be in order.
My name is Chief Sean Barnes, SHONBARNES. I'm currently the Chief of Police for the Madison Police Department. I'll be providing a brief update of the school shooting that we had today in Madison. There is some information that we're not going to release because it's still an ever-evolving situation. You'll hear from some of our representatives from our city and from our county. And behind me are a lot of people who came together today to make sure that the day ended well and that everyone else was safe. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and start my remarks. Today truly is a sad day for Madison and for our country. It is a day that I believe will live in our collective minds for a very, very long time. Here are the details. Today at 10:57 a.m., our team was called to the Abundant Life Christian School in reference to an active shooter. We know that 3 people are dead, including the suspect shooter. We know that the suspect shooter was a teenage student who attended the school. At this time, we're not releasing the age or gender of the student or any other identifying remarks about the student. 2 other people have died. That died were a teacher and a teenage student. 6 other people were injured. 2 students are now in critical condition in the hospital, and these injuries are considered life-threatening injuries. 4 students are also at other area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. But these are just the physical injuries that we know about. We know that this was the middle of the day, of a school day, and so there will be other injuries that we'll have to face for a very, very long time. And we're going to do everything we can as a community to heal those injuries as well. Many of you have asked me about why of this? Why did
But
this
one of
happen?
those is the
What do we know? What was
shooter.
their motivation? I do not know. But I will tell you this, our detectives are working hard in the investigative process to find out as many answers as we can so that we can further prevent these things from happening, not only in this community, but in other communities around our country. I think we can all agree that enough is enough. And we have to come together to do everything we can to support our students, to prevent press conferences like these from happening again and again and again. The school building itself is clear. We've cleared the school. There's no other threats or danger to the community. We're in the process now of what we call reunification. And what that simply means is making sure that every student that was in the school is present and accounted for and returned to their loved ones. This usually takes a while, but we have practiced, unfortunately, and practice. And that's why we're able to reunify students with their parents within hours of a school shooting. The reunification is taking place at the Dean Clinic on Stoughton Road, and I certainly thank them for their help. Again, we need our public to find an alternate route. If that is your normal way home as we get closer to the end of the day, please be patient or find another route home. We're currently processing the scene. We're interviewing those who may have been witnesses, and we're obtaining search warrants to get additional information. And lastly, I want to just say thank you to everyone who's standing behind me, the organizations and agencies that they represent, the men and women of the Madison Police Department and Dane County Sheriff's Office who selflessly ran into a building not knowing what they were going to encounter. Many of you know this about me, but I started my professional career, if you will, as a public school teacher back in 1997. And I taught public school for 4 years. It was one of the greatest joys of my life before becoming a police officer. And I can tell you what a special place our schools are. With that being said, we owe it to our community to do everything possible to ensure that it's not only a special place, but a safe place as well. And we're going to continue to do that. So we ask for your patience as information is coming in. We will do the best that we can to bring you accurate and timely information, but we want to make sure that our public knows that we're working extremely hard on this particular incident. There are a lot of people involved, and certainly we're going to come together as a community. I'd like to bring up at this time Police Fire Chief Chris Carter.
Thank you, Chief Barnes. Before I start, the only thing I can say is this is not a place that any fire chief or any one of us would ever want to be. And I can't believe I'm standing here today talking about this incident. The fire department is a part of this community, much like all of the folks standing up here with me today.
You can hear
Our
in his
hearts are
voice,
with
can't
and our
you, that
arms are
he's
around everybody impacted today
shook.
and everybody within our community. With that, I won't repeat the details shared by Chief Barnes, but I will share with you the fire department activity for today. Much like Chief Barnes mentioned, at 10:57, we were also dispatched with Engine 5 and Medic 5 to the same location. Throughout the course of the incident, we responded with 5 engine companies, 4 ladder companies, 15 ambulances. I would like to take a moment and share our gratitude for our county partners throughout a multitude of EMS and fire agencies that joined us in the response today. We also had 11 off-duty chief officers that came in on this response. So it was a tremendous response from the fire department. We transported 4 patients to St. Mary's. We transported 3 patients to the University of Wisconsin hospitals. On the arrival of our crews, I can say my gratitude to our membership for what they did and their selfless actions today. It's hard for me to place into words what they ran into as well. They did that immediately. They did that selflessly. And within a course of 15 minutes, from the first transport to the last transport, all the patients were on their way to the hospital. So to our membership within the Madison Fire Department and within all the emergency services, my gratitude, my recognition of the work that goes into this, the training that went into this, that again, we had hoped we would never have to put into practice. One more time on behalf of the Madison Fire Department, our hearts are with you, our arms are around you, and we will be with you throughout the duration of this. So at this point, I'll step aside, turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Chiefs, both of you. This is an incredibly sad day for our community. As you've heard, there is no danger to the community at this time, but our entire community has been impacted by this tragic incident. On behalf of the Common Council and the City of Madison staff, I want to offer our heartfelt condolences to the victims and families and to the whole Abundant Life community. Our focus now is on supporting them and supporting the victims and their families. And we will continue to do that through the coming days and weeks. I also want to thank our first responders, the police, fire, the medical staff, for their quick action and their life-saving efforts. As you've heard already, this is a whole of government response. It is not just police and fire. It is not just City of Madison. We have folks from all around the county. We have folks from multiple agencies engaged in both the initial immediate response and the ongoing support, and will be engaged for days and weeks to come. I also want to thank the White House and the governor and others in the federal government and state government for reaching out to offer their support and help. We will be drawing on resources as needed going forward. But the most important thing right now is to make sure that we are centering the victims and their families, and that we are doing whatever we can to support them and to help them heal, and to lift our entire community up through this difficult incident. I am on record that I think we need to do better in our country and our community to prevent gun violence. And I hoped that this day would never come in Madison. It is not something that any mayor, any fire chief, any police chief, any person in public office ever wants to have to deal with. And so I will ask our entire community and our entire country to do whatever we can to make sure that no public official ever has to stand in this position again. And now I'll invite the county executive to the podium.
Except no one will do
Good
anything.
afternoon, everyone. Today, our community is reeling from the heartbreaking and senseless tragedies at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. As a mom who received a text from her son at a high school here in the city of Madison wondering if he was safe, I can tell you, this hits you in the gut. Our community is better than this. Our country is better than this. It cannot continue. My heart goes out to the victims and their families and the students and the educators, and the list goes on and on. Every one of us is affected by this unimaginable and unacceptable violence that has hit our community today. Dane County stands united in grief with the Abundant Life Christian School community. The Sheriff's Department, the Department of Emergency Management, Department of Human Services have all been on the front lines. My phone has been ringing from people across our state and our nation asking what it is that they can do to help our community. And right now, it is our time to be committed to supporting this school, these students, and these families, and our first responders who went into that building during this devastating time. We must work closely with our law enforcement officers and first responders, mental health professionals, community leaders, and policymakers to ensure that we are taking care of one another. No community should ever have to endure such a tragedy. And my administration is going to do everything that it can to provide assistance to those who have experienced this devastating loss, and also do everything that we can to prevent such tragedy from occurring. To all of those that are grieving in our community, please know that you're not alone. Dane County stands with you. We're here to support you in any way possible. Please reach out and ask for help. The governor's office, as well as the mayor's office, and I will continue to update the public as we learn more. But please understand, there are many things that we cannot share with you right now. This is an active investigation. This is an active case. The SSM Health Clinic near the intersection of Buckeye Road and Stoughton Road is the reunification center. I know that that has been out, but we need to make sure that folks know where it is that they can go to be reunited with their children. Again, in the coming days, we are going to make sure that we are supporting those that have been most impacted by this. But folks, reach out, ask for help. This does not need to be the reality of our community. Thank you.
All right, we'll start over here with questions.
Can you tell us, how did this unfold? Can you explain the timeline, how you officers got into it?
So we received the call at approximately 10:57 a.m. Someone from the school called 911 to report that there was an active shooter. That means something different to us. Obviously, there's different protocols that go out, tone alerts even, so that even if officers are busy doing other things, they respond. One of the things that I do want to note is that our training center is about 3 miles from there. We have a special event team medics, those that work with the fire department, responded to this particular scene from their training day. So what began as a training day became an actual day. And so that's how this call originally came in.
What can you tell us, if anything, more about the shooter and what their motivations were, or have you made contact with their family members? Anything updated on that?
Sure. There's nothing new that I can tell you about the shooter at this time. Again, as difficult as the day is, that's still someone's child that's gone. That's still someone that has to deal with what happened today. And so we want to make sure that we can ensure as much cooperation as we can. You asked me about why, as I stated before, I don't know why. And I felt like if we did know why, we could stop these things from happening. But what I will tell you is, as soon as we are done with the investigation, any information that we uncover that will not compromise the safety of anyone involved or compromise the confidentiality of any of these children that are involved, we'll tell you. I just ask for your patience.
All right, over there. Sorry. Go ahead.
Chief, what kind of gun was used today?
We know it was a handgun. We know a handgun was recovered.
Sit down right there.
Was the shooting confined to one classroom or did it spread out throughout multiple?
We know it was confined to one space. I do not know if it was a classroom or a hallway. One of the things that we've gotten very good at, certainly different from in my day, is that if you do not need to be in a crime scene, you do not need to go to a crime scene. And so the crime scene and those persons who were involved, they have that crime scene locked down. I did not go or enter into that crime scene. But if you can imagine, most schools, the students go together, but they are segregated. So on each different floor, in each different group. And so there's no evidence that anyone else was injured that was not in the age group.
What can you say at this time about how school staff responded?
I cannot speak to how the school staff responded. We did have injuries, but it could have always, of course, had additional injuries. I do not know what the school's protocols are. Again, this is a private Christian school. I know that we have a very good rapport with MMSD, Madison Metropolitan Schools, public schools. So we have done trainings for them before, but I would assume that most of the teachers have the same or some similar type of training as a part of their certification.
There's conflicting reports online about how many students are enrolled at the school. Can you confirm approximately how many students attend the school?
I do not know how many students attend the school, but their website says that they serve about 200 families.
Right in the back, White.
What kind of support systems are going to be made available to the people who are affected by the events today?
That's a good question. As you heard from our mayor and our county exec, we have services within our government that will be made available to them. I have a lot of confidence that they're going to follow through on that, and we'll make sure that persons who need to. You guys want to speak to that?
So, Dane County Human Services, as well as the Red Cross and other consolidated agencies, are already on scene. And we will continue to be on scene, and those resources will be bolstered. Again, please reach out. You are not alone. We are going to navigate this together. And there are people who are affected by this trauma who are not in the reunification center or at the school. We need folks to be reaching out because we do have resources available.
Did you know if Abundant Christian Life School, did they have a school resource officer employed?
It's not my knowledge that they had a school resource officer. That if they did, it would be a police officer, and I know where they all are, and they're not in the schools right now.
In the back there.
So in terms of witnesses that you mentioned about investigation, what is that looking like and how many witnesses are you guys speaking with?
Sure. So the detectives will talk to anyone who may have seen this particular event unfold, anyone that may have been unfortunate to hear something. They will be talking to them. It's my understanding that that's in process now and everyone is cooperating fully. That will give us an idea of not only what unfolded, but it could answer the question to motivation, because again, the students who unfortunately had to witness this, but that's not something that we want to rush. We're not going to interrogate students. We're going to give them an opportunity to come in and speak to what they may have saw when they feel ready, which is why some of these questions can't be answered right now.
How do you reassure the community that it's still okay to go back to school? I mean, everybody's got kids, and I think, maybe it happened at this school, but there's everybody that's got to go anywhere. Like this in Dane County, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, I think you're asking me, how can I say 100% that no child will ever be harmed in school? I can't. No police chief can. But all I can tell you is that we have systems in place so that if something happens, we can respond like we did today. I can tell you that our mayor and our county exec has committed resources to not only public health, but also mental health. I can tell you that every teacher that I've ever had contact with at MMSD cares deeply about their students. Every staff member, I talk to staff members all the time who tell me things that are going on in the schools and want to do whatever they can, even if it's under anonymity, to let me know that they want to have a safe school. So my reassurance to the public is that if you see something, say something. If you know someone who may be going through a difficult time, please reach out to someone. And I think what I can do is make sure that our police department is transparent and open and honest and inviting for people to call and give information. I think MMSD does an excellent job of that. And the same thing can be said for any other private school. If you want to give information or you need someone to talk to, I can promise you we'll have someone there to get that information.
Understanding that this is a private school you may not be as familiar with, what can you tell us about some of the physical measures that are in place at this school, whether it's metal detectors, secure entryway cameras, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never been in this school, unfortunately. I'm not aware that there were metal detectors in the school. That's something that we can certainly look at. Most schools have some form of surveillance or public space cameras, but that will be, of course, part of the investigation process.
Scott?
Can you clarify, you said 7 were injured, but 6 were hospitalized. Does that mean one's been treated at least? And secondly, is the shooter's family cooperating with the investigation?
Yeah, so there's two questions, but let me try to handle the first one. So I'm trying to go back to my notes. So we do know that one person was pronounced at the scene. And so that may be the 7th person, but we can get you all that information just when we're done. I'll have my PIO give that to you so you can report it accurately. And what was your second question? At this time, yes.
So you have made contact with the shooter's family?
We have.
And what were the steps taken to do that?
It's through the investigative process. Okay. Yeah.
With the shooter's home being searched, we've heard we've got some information about that is ongoing.
Yes, obviously, once we have identified, we have initiated a search, but we think that search is either ongoing now or that search may be concluded. Of course, it's about safety. That's the first thing, making sure that people are safe, and then we'll go from there. This has been, this has been an amazing day for everyone. And so if you have someone who is deceased, who may have been a shooter, you want to make sure that their family is okay. You don't know. And so that is what we're doing right now. It is about the safety of everyone. This is going to be a long day for the Madison Police Department. We just want some of your patience.
Had the school had any prior threats? And then just jumping off of that, do you know if the shooter had any prior contact with law enforcement?
We do not know that the shooter had any prior contact with law enforcement, but I did do a check of the school. There were some calls, but they were like 911 hangups, things of that nature. There was nothing that suggested that the school was a place that violence would occur.
Chief, I know that you mentioned that the shooter died of a self-inflicted gun wound. Did that happen before officers arrived at the school or when the shooter saw officers coming into the school?
Yeah, so let me say that the cause and manner in which the shooter died will be determined by the inmate. But what I can tell you is the shooter was dead upon our arrival, police department arrival, and no officers fired their weapons. Okay.
What are these search warrants you're executing? Are they at the residence on like the device the shooter had?
I'm sorry.
The extent of the search warrant.
Yeah, so the extent of the search warrant is to be able to go in a place that we don't have permission to be in and make sure that everyone is okay. And then if there's any evidence that we think we need to collect, we can only do that with the use of a search warrant. And so again, we have to determine if there is evidence that we will need. Everyone wants to know what led up to this. Are there any additional threats to public safety? Is this person or was this person by themselves? There are a lot of questions that we want to answer, but we have to answer the safety questions first, and then we'll move on to some of the more investigatory questions. I am not, no.
I'm wondering about metal detectors. You mentioned in the first meeting that you were not a fan, and that this school probably doesn't have them. And do you know other schools that do? Do you think that that's something we should start talking about, metal detectors in schools?
I guess the question is, would you want your child to go to a school with or without metal detectors?
I can't answer that.
I can't.
Right now is
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is to create the safest environment that we can without metal detectors. That is my answer.
This was a shooting at a Christian school right before the Christmas holiday. Can you address the impact of that? And is the Christmas holiday at all, in your belief, related to as a motivation for the shooting?
Yeah. So to the question of motivation, we don't know why, but to the question of so close to Christmas, we have a lot of people going to be impacted. If it's a Christian school, then obviously our holidays, our Christian holidays are very important to the students, very important. It's a time for family. Students probably getting ready to go out on break. And now the break will be a little less about celebrating Christmas and more about celebrating perhaps friends and loved ones and staff members who perhaps lost their life. That's why I'm asking everyone to, of course, keep Abundant Life Christian School in your thoughts and in your prayers, and we'll get a couple more. Okay.
Okay, real quick, Phoebe.
So it's a private school that takes public money through the voucher system. So what has this revealed about maybe gaps in security or training for staff? Is that something you're thinking about whether schools that are private but take public money need to be, kind of on par with public schools when it comes to safety?
Well, what I'm telling you is that in 1997, I began my professional career as a public school teacher. I taught history for 4 years before becoming a police officer. So I did not get far enough to take courses in administration and budgeting of schools. I don't know what governs private schools, if they receive money, where that comes from. That would probably be a question that you would probably need to ask someone who's more intimately involved in the school system and what their requirements are if they do receive that. But you could probably compare what has happened or what goes on, their security measures, with the security measures of any school in MMSD, and then that may give you your answer. That's a very
Because there has been some criticism to other law departments in their response to these school shooting incidents, particularly Uvalde. How did that inform your game plan today? And how quickly were your officers able to get into the school? What were they told to do?
Sure. We train on this, as I spoke about earlier. When officers arrive on the scene, they immediately go in, which we did in this case. Stop the threat, stop the killing, find the killer. That's how we train. And that's exactly what we did today. There's no waiting. There's no coordination of who's in charge. Everyone knows exactly what to do. I spoke about this earlier. We train on this constantly. Our commanders, including the fire chief and I, was in a commander's training less than 2 weeks ago, going over this exact same scenario for another fictional location. And so all of that came into play today, and our officers
This
performed
dude's very proud
extremely
of his
well
training.
based on their training and based on the expectations that they know exactly what to do. Stop the threat, stop the killing, find the threat.
Can we just do one more?
Wait,
hold on, right here.
Thank you all. I think the questions have been asked, and we're straying a little far from what's most important at this point in time, and that is the victims and their families. I have 3 things to add. First of all, there is a lot that our community can and will do in the coming days to support the victims and their families, and we will have more information at future briefings. If anyone, and I would urge you all to include this in your stories, if anyone needs mental health support as a result of this incident and the coverage of it, I encourage them to reach out to 988 by phone or text and to get the mental health support that they need. It is incredibly important that we take care of our community in this very difficult time. We all have a role in preventing gun violence. Our entire community needs to be
We're going to need
part
to have a
of
look
the
at your
There are many things that we can do, and we can have those conversations in coming days. But first and
yeah, you'll all
foremost,
have those
what needs to be
conversations. You'll be like,
priority for
blah,
all of
and
us
then
is
no one will
supporting our
dare
young
to do anything because you'll all lose your
And that
vote.
is where our community's
And then the
attention
guns
needs
will
to turn
stay,
at this point in
nothing
time.
changes, and then we'll be back
Police
here doing
department, the fire
another
department, the city, the county will share additional information about
case.
the investigation as it becomes available. But I urge you all to help our community find resources to support their mental health and to find resources to support the victims and families at this time. Thank you all.
It'll be on the cityofmadison.com. Me and Stephanie and Cynthia will stick around and answer any other questions posted. That's all.
Let me say just before I go, because the mayor mentioned that this was a whole of government response. It certainly was, and there's so many people that we want to thank. We cannot thank everyone, but it's also a whole of law enforcement response. Even though we are in different agencies, we all have the same training. And
So, well, that training thing came up again. So I'm just going to take you to Facebook because we will do some more. Okay. So, guys, there's lots of rumors going on through the night. There was rumors that she was transgender. There was rumors of this. There was rumors of that. So the photo of her was released. So this is the shooter. This is the girl that is responsible for what unfolded. This is the one that has now been named. So this person wrote 16 hours. So her name's Natalie Rupp now, or Rupp now. She's 15 years old. She is the mass shooter, and she did attend that Christian school in Wisconsin. Now, it said that she has a manifesto. I'm going to give you a glimpse of what has been released, but we don't 100% know the all ins and outs behind it. And if there is anything behind it. Now, they are just doing another update, so we'll get that in a minute, and they might go into it more then. But apparently the manifesto wasn't very nice. So they only selected a couple of pages to post. So in her manifesto, she expressed that she got weapons to commit the attack through lies, manipulation, and my father's stupidity. I personally believe her parents may be facing trouble. And if they are, we're going to be there for that. Same as we were there with the Crumblies. Nothing like a good trial. Make these parents learn that it's not okay to be taking your kid down to the shooting range, teaching them how to shoot, and then, letting them have access to your weapons. She also talked about taking her own life, but said she didn't want to go out in a boring way, rather with a bang, by hurting others. And then she put, "This is devastating, and no, she is not transgender either." This is one of her photos. What did Jeff Rucknow know? Will her dad face charges? So this is her in a seductive pose with the weapon. Oh, and by the way, this T-shirt that you can see her wearing, this KMFDM T-shirt, that was the one that the Columbine shooters, Eric Harris, he had that, and apparently she is this group that these people, well, that she's wearing and that Eric Harris was wearing, this KMFDM is a band. It's a dark band, and they've kind of become associated with school shooters, thanks to Columbine. So does she have an affiliation or a fixation with the Columbine shooters? Has any of that influenced her actions? That is something, obviously, we don't know yet. So that looks like that's her father. He does have a Facebook. And then there's just people confirming she is a biological female, but she is a self-proclaimed feminist. She was fascinated by true crime and admired the Columbine shooters. Now, these are some of the photos, which is a little bit eerie, that she had taken. I don't know what that one is. I'm not sure I like the looks of that one. I'm not sure what that is. But this was taken. This is her before the shooting, apparently. And this is a text message. I want to show the text message. Okay. That won't be the one. And that's her with the family dog. I want the photo of the text messages. There's a picture. There's a text message that she sent. I don't want to spoil it for you. So that was her at the shooting range, guys. I don't know if you can see it that well. I don't know if I click on it, if it makes it bigger. No, it just takes us. So that was on her dad's Facebook page. Dad's Facebook page was up like an hour ago. So she's 15, Karen. She's 15, mate. Looking like the pro in there. Again, that's what I mean. So Jeff Rucknow shared a picture of his daughter being encouraged to handle the firearms. And then this was at the at the shooting range on his Facebook, and people were like, oh my God, like, is this her? And he's like, yeah, it's her. So scrutiny's fallen on him, and they're talking about the T-shirt that she was wearing, who Eric Harrison, Dylan Klebold also idolized. So there are links here to that band and the Columbine shooters. And then this is part of something that has been written. I think it might have come out of a Discord or somewhere. It says, women are the only hope for this wretched world, but even women have been brainwashed by moids for too long, internalized by patriarchy, and turned to each other, always begging for male approval and validation. It's disgusting. I realise the truth, men are irredeemable. Rad, femme, Hitler was a effing vindicated now. Hitler is effing vindicated now. They can't be reformed or redeemed. They are a effing scourge upon the earth. The only solution is to exterminate them. So she really hated men. every Freud who worships these effing parasites, every single male must be wiped out, from babies to the elderly. Peach. Only then can women be free to create a new world. I hate to tell you, but you need the men to create the little people. Otherwise, the world comes to an end. I'll be a pioneer. I'll be the first to take the first step. Oh, I think you're a bit behind because there's been plenty before you. I don't care if they're fathers, brothers, husbands, sons, teachers, police, especially NIGGERS or politicians. I've been craving to unalive them all. This is my mission. Only when the parasitic sludge has been expunged from this earth, when the world will be clean and women could start over. It's the only way. In approximately 10 minutes, C should be DEAD. It's strange, but it feels good. And that's her. This is what the world has to deal with right now. It makes me mad when they're bringing up, yeah, I know. And it's not even true. She's biologically female, and she was a seemingly, obviously, they haven't confirmed that yet. They may well have done just now, but they haven't confirmed it as of yet officially. But people get this stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's what the Americans are like. They'll get it before the police release it. Her face was out there before police had released it. So I just wanted to show you the message. There's a text message, and I can't bloody find it now. So that's the picture of her and Eric Harris. I mean, Jesus, take the wheels. Is it going to give me any more? I want to know where the pictures are. Well, that suddenly changed its tune, didn't it? Hang on. Ignore some of this because some of this is not accurate, but I'm going to show you the stuff just to show you what's out there because, you know, so then we come on to this. So Natalie, Samantha Rupp, now gender identity, feminist, trans, non-binary question mark. Well, we know that's not true. She is a girl. But she looks a lot older there. That's the thing I've just read you. And this is the message. So she's apparently sent this message. So again, we have to wait for that to be confirmed. But apparently she said, I don't have a lot of time, so I'll get right down to it. I'm going to be dead in the next hour or two, max. Someone's obviously replying to that. Again, her dad was really dumb not shutting down that, you know, the Facebook fucking group thing. Right, here's the manifesto. It's just sad. Just really fucking sad. She's got it really twisted. So as you can see, you should be able to see on the screen. Let me just check. Yeah, you probably can't read it that great. But so this person has included some of the screenshots of the manifesto. She says she's hesitant to post the whole thing, not because the content is graphic in any way, but that it will violate the terms of service, and she's not intending to do that. So I think there's some harsh commentary and words in there. I don't think I can make this bigger. No, they took it down. Interesting. That seems to have come off X now. So the manifesto has said, grown to hate people in society. The second manifesto, titled War Against Humanity, it's a 6-page document, and it's alleged to have been shared by this person, purporting to be the boyfriend of Rupnow, and is what is currently understood to be the 2 pages that were shared on. We don't know if that's true. It's interesting that the X page is gone though, right? So it's likely to be true. And then it talks about what she writes in it. She claims her family didn't love her or want her. Didn't look like that on the shooting range. Looked like her dad spent a bit of time with her. Expresses the feeling that she's the wrong child of her family. She says she planned to unalive such a long time ago, but felt committing a shooting would be better for evolution rather than just one stupid, boring unaliving. And she expresses deep admiration for a few people. Yeah, she talks about the neo-Nazi who committed a mass attack and stuff like that. So hang on a minute. This girl's like, oh, I hate men, gotta get rid of them, blah. And then she calls this person, who is a him, an ultimate saint. I'm sorry, what? So you don't really hate men. I mean, if she's got a bloody boyfriend as well, come on now, can't be right. It can't be right. Like, I've got a boyfriend. Well, that's the we don't know if that's true. But she hated men. Why has she got a dude? And also, why is she calling that other person who's a dude? Yes, he's done some horrific things, but do you know what I mean? I know the police are looking at the document, but why is she calling him a saint when she wants to obliterate the whole male humanity? They are looking into it. They can't verify its authenticity. Well, they will be able to, won't they? It's printed out, so it'll be somewhere on a computer or a phone, or verify it's authentic, but they are aware and that it's been posted and the person who posted it. So we have to wait for the confirmation for that, and they may well have done that since we've been talking. They haven't located the persons who posted it, but have shared the info with the FBI. Uh-oh. The manifesto, if authentic, could prove an insight into the motive. But this was all yesterday. So all this was unfolding yesterday. Now, this school takes about 400 students from kindergarten age right through to 12th grade. But we know that who the shooter is. And this person hasn't been on their radar, and they haven't had interactions with her before today. Let me just come out of that one. Then we had this one. I might just skip this one because this one's quite a lengthy one. I might just do the press conference one for this one, just so we've got it, and skip to questions maybe. And then we'll catch up with the one that's just been had and then go to the questions, just so we can get up to scratch and see where we are with it all. So let me just put this on. Because a lot of it's just waiting around, isn't it? Give me a sec, guys. I'm just trying to. Oh, well, I've shaved like 15 minutes off that because you know how it is. I've managed to do that because there was all that hanging around and waiting. Let me just see. So she thinks that's feminism. Oh, yeah, I know. Well, this is going to be the interesting thing, isn't it? What do her parents know? Did they know? What access to weapons did she have? That's the key here, because if they just left them willy-nilly, if there's a history of mental health and all that stuff, you know, then it's going to come back and bite them on the arse like it did the Crumblies.
Again, my name is Chief Sean Barnes, SHONBARNES, with our
He's
third
back.
update of the day regarding our school shooting here in Madison.
So this is the last one from
All
last
the latest
night.
updates, the reunification of students and their loved ones who survived this incident is complete. All student survivors have been reunified with their parents. We're still in the process of reunifying some of our staff, our teachers who selflessly stayed back to make sure our kids were okay. We're currently reunifying them with their loved ones as well. We do understand that this process of reunification may have taken a while, and parents really wanted to see their children and give their children a hug. Certainly I would as a father, but we are fortunate that that process is complete. As such, I want to thank the Dean Clinic. This clinic actually shut down their doors today in order to provide a space so that students who survived this incident could be reunified with their loved ones, and we thank them for doing this. At this time, we're still working on a motive, trying to determine why this happened. We know that there is some information that may be circulating about the shooter. I cannot, at this time, formally tell you
So that's the
age,
stuff that
gender,
I've just shown you.
of the shooter. We do not want to compromise any part of the investigation, but it is important to note that later today at 8:30, I plan to give an additional update, and I believe at that time we may be able to give you the answers to some of those questions. Here's what we know again. We have 3 people who have lost their lives. 2 of those people were persons who were pronounced dead at the scene, and 1 while on the way to the hospital. Of the 6 injured and taken to local hospitals, 2 students remain in critical condition. Their injuries are life-threatening. A teacher and 3 other students were taken to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. 2 of those victims, 2 of those survivors have been released from the hospital. So that is an update.
Great, it's great news.
Officers were dispatched to Abundant Life Christian School at 10:57. I can confirm that the first officers arrived at 11 a.m. and immediately went in the building 3 minutes later. The Crime Response Unit of Dane County District Attorney's Office, assisted by the Dane County Emergency Management, and we're mobilizing our Mass Violence Critical Response Team. Once again, our Mass Violence Critical Response Team has been notified. This is a group of people trained in responding to victims of mass violence, which includes social workers, attorneys, victims, professionals, former law enforcement, and members of our community. If you need further assistance or want to know how you can help, you can contact the Crime Response Program. They have a daytime number of 608-284-6908. They have an after hours number for those who may want to help at 608-376-0164, 608-376-0164. Pre-planned or planned shootings, we believe, are preventable. If you see warning behaviors from someone that is planning an attack, say something, do something. You can report this at 1-800-MY-SUSO1, 1-800-MY-SUSO1. At this time, joining us is Director of Advancement, Barbara Weaver.
Thank you. I understand there's questions regarding the school. We're happy to answer those to the best of our ability. We have been incredibly supported by Madison Police, Madison Fire, and the paramedics. They have been absolutely amazing to us. It was quite an afternoon for the reunification process, and we had so many people stepping up to help. Our families were amazing in their patience as we worked through this. We are so grateful, from the president up to the governor, the mayor. We have had so much support. This has obviously rocked our school community, but we know it affects not just our school community, but Madison and the greater area and all schools. And so our hope is that there will be some good that comes out of this as we can learn and grow and continue to support other schools.
Yeah, we'll take questions. Scott, you got first grade.
Chief, can you give us any details about if there are any warning signs that premeditated this either at the school or with the family or elsewhere that could cause any red flags?
Yeah, that's what the officers and detectives are working on now. Hopefully this afternoon at our 4th press conference, I'll be able to answer that a little bit further. But right now, I cannot tell you. They're still talking to parents who are cooperating. And so hopefully we'll be able to give you a more detailed response as to any warning signs or anything that we may have possibly known prior to this.
All right, Maddie from WISC.
I can confirm that it is related to this and everyone is cooperating. And so hopefully later today, if you stick around, we'll be able to give you more information about that and what we may have learned from that process. Again, this is a situation where students, teachers were injured and killed, and everyone wants to cooperate. Everyone wants to give as much information as they can so we can piece this together for our community.
Okay, Phoebe from Wisconsin Watch.
Yeah, hi, Chief. So So, accounts online are sharing doctored and debunked photos to push a narrative about the identity of the shooter that goes far beyond what has been released publicly. Can you respond to that? And can you also say what effect that has on either the families of the victims or the public's trust in the law enforcement investigation? And what you say contradicts this media or this narrative that's on social media?
Absolutely. Social media is something that, quite frankly, I can't control, and neither can anyone in this room. Everyone in here is a trusted and respectful journalist, and your word means a lot, which is why we're doing our third press conference of the day to get the actual truth out to what has happened. We have a PIO, 3 of them working today to make sure we have information. I will say this: if you're listening to this or you're at home, you're thinking about reposting or sending something that did not come from someone in this room, a trusted and respected journalist, or did not come from us, please don't do that. Because to answer the second part of your question, what that does is it does help erode the trust in this process, and that's all we have. And also, it could further fan the flames, if you will, of misinformation and of fear at a time where we need to come together and not be divided by anything.
All right, WMTV.
Hello. Although unfortunate to ask about, were there any lessons learned from back in May from the Mount Horeb shooting that you guys used in action today?
So that's not my jurisdiction. And so I won't speak to anything that we learned at Mount Horeb, but I will speak to 25 years of law enforcement. What I've learned is that every opportunity is an opportunity to grow, do better, and train. This department trains constantly on this thing. I spoke about it earlier. We train as far recent as actually today, because our set medics were training at the training center 3 miles away, and their training day turned into an actual response. So as far as the incident at Mount Horeb, it wasn't my jurisdiction. So the only thing that I can tell you is we try to learn from everything and try to get better. Even this one, we'll do an after action debrief once everything is done, and we'll talk about how we responded. Is there anything that we can do better? Continuous improvement is one of our core values, and we take that very seriously.
Laura from the Journal Sentinel.
Do you have any idea where the came from? Was it people on parents?
I do not know. That's part of the investigation process. We're trying to determine that. We're lucky to have great partners at the ATF. They obviously have a program that you're all aware of called the TRACE program. And so we're working with them to try to find the origin of this. And I have no doubt that we'll be able to do that with their help. They are amazing partners along with our partners from the FBI. I confirmed earlier it was a handgun.
WKOW Mason. All right, Cody.
Yeah, can I ask Barbara a question? Just curious, what kind of safety protocols are in place in the school? Do you have metal detectors, police on staff, kind of anything like that? Does this kind of change the way things will be before? I know it's kind of broken down.
We're a small private Christian school here on the east side of Madison. We serve 3K to 12. We have had an amazing partnership with the DOJ and the Office of Schools Safety, because they have done trainings. They've provided school safety grants, and we have participated in both of those school safety grants to harden our school, if you can use that language. We do not have metal detectors, but we do have a number of security protocols in place. We have always been told not to share our security protocols with publicly, because then those who might want to do harm will know your security protocols. But the students are aware that there are cameras in the building, and we do monitor those regularly in the offices so that we know what is happening in the hallways. We also have other safety measures throughout the building, but as to a metal detector, no, we do not have. We do abide by the policy of visual scans every morning as students come into the building. So every student is visually scanned before they go into
Nothing like a visual scan, is
into
there?
their
Really
locker spaces or into their
useful.
classrooms. 420, 3K to 12.
Lucas from the State Journal. What part of the school did the shooting happen?
Say again.
What part of the school did the shooting happen in?
It happened near so the school is obviously segregated into sections. I'm told that it happened at a period of time when the transition was complete. Students were where they were supposed to be, near classrooms in the hallway. I did not, again, go into the school, so I don't know the exact nomenclature of where it happened, but it happened in the learning part of the school. So once, yeah, because we're still investigating, we'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
All right, Sarah from WPR.
You mentioned that the school has a partnership with the Office of School Safety. Did police have access to the principal of the school as a result of that partnership, and how did that?
We have that all uploaded. I don't know whether police did.
You want to?
I can speak to the blueprints and the maps. We do have those uploaded as part of our reporting to the Department of Justice and the Office of School Safety. How they were used, I don't know. I do know that the police were going through and they were working with staff to secure the different areas, and that they did have maps. So whether those are the blueprint maps or what they were using, that I can't speak to, but I do know that they did have maps. It's a visual scan where we look at the student to see if there's anything unique or unusual in them.
All right, Ken from WKPT. Sure.
If I could get Barbara back real quick, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you've had a ton of conversations with parents or staff members today, but what is the prevailing thought or message that they wanted to impart to you in the administration?
Sure. I've had the opportunity to speak to the parents at the reunification site a couple of different times. The families that I did speak to mostly were, as you would expect at Abundant Life, they were supportive. They were amazingly patient and kind. They were offering repeatedly, we're praying for you. We're praying for our family, because at ALCS, we call ourselves the family. We see ourselves as a family, not just a community. And whether their child was affected by this or not, they were affected by it, because what affects one part of the body affects all, as we know, the Bible says. And so we hold that dear. We also have a very strong faith in our community that in spite of tragedy, God is working, and we believe that God is good in everything, and that He turned me for ashes. And so I had a number of families who mentioned that to me, that this was a surprise to God, and that He's going to do something mighty with it. And so we're holding to those words, and we're continuing to believe and trust in Him. He is our foundation at Abundant Life Christian School. We exist to bring and to build disciples of Jesus Christ, and so we have complete faith that He will carry us through this.
Yeah, that's fine. So what details can you share about what
So some of this is part of the investigation. So I think there's limited things that I can say at this time. Once the investigation is complete, obviously there will be more that will be shared. We certainly don't want to say anything that would impede MPD. That would be critical. So I will actually step aside and let the Chief Barnes speak to that, because he is the lead for that.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. We're certainly working to get as much information as you can. We'll do a fourth, I think, press conference later on today, I think at 8:30. And so hopefully we will have a little more information for you.
Okay, Dee with PBS Wisconsin.
Chief Barnes, were there other search warrants executed today in addition to the help on the website?
I'm not aware of any.
All right, Carl from NBC 26.
Yeah, I have a question for Barbara. Was the shooter at school at the beginning of the day, or was there a forcible entry later?
We believe that the shooter was at school. We have no information that there was some type of breach to the school.
Okay, Jenna from WMTV. Yep, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Question for you, Barbara, if you don't mind. Can you just talk about, Chief earlier mentioned how teachers, employees, and staff really follow the protocols that you guys have practiced in place. I know that this is an emotional event, obviously for students, but those teachers really take it to heart when they are sitting there protecting those little ones at the school. Can you talk a little bit about what they did right in the situation? Obviously, this is tragic, but unfortunately, we've seen school shootings play out that are far worse than what we saw today.
So it's timely that just prior to the start of the school year, we had a retraining. We train on this. We do lockdown drills. We do evacuation drills as part of our standard drill protocols. Our students are versed in that. Our faculty are well versed in that. The training that we did with MPD at the very beginning of the year, prior to the students returning to campus, had some new updates. And so we had looked at some of those things. So I think everything was very fresh for our faculty. We follow the protocol of always keeping our school doors locked. And so that is one of the things that makes it quick and easy to secure a room. I was actually teaching at the time, and so following those protocols as a teacher would do, we take care of making sure the door is secure. We shut the door down, we get the students to a safe part of the room, and we prepare. The students handled themselves magnificently. I cannot tell you how well our students did in that process. They were clearly scared when they realized, when we practice, we always say, this is a drill, it is just a drill. When they heard lockdown, and nothing else, they knew it was real. But they handled themselves brilliantly. And our faculty, kudos to them for following the protocols, keeping their students safe, doing what we have been trained to do. And so much credit of that goes to the Department of Justice and the Office of School Safety. We have been through a number of trainings by them, and we follow their standards. And while we had never hoped to actually employ them today, they help keep students safe.
We have
I'm Trish Kilpin, the Director of the Office of School Safety at Wisconsin DOJ. And I just would like to reiterate something Chief Barnes had mentioned earlier, and that is that targeted violence is preventable. That when somebody conducts a school shooting, they don't simply snap. They don't just decide one day to engage in this egregious behavior. Instead, they make a decision and start research and planning towards an act of violence. And when they're on that pathway to violence, they often demonstrate observable behaviors that others notice. 82% of the time, somebody knows about a school shooter's plan to attack a school. So I encourage all in the community, students, parents alike, to report to Speak Up, Speak Out Wisconsin, our 24/7 call center, where we do receive concerns about planned school attacks and deliver them locally to local law enforcement and schools to intervene to prevent violence. Trish Kilpin, TRISHKILPIN, Director, Wisconsin DOJ, Office of School Safety.
All right, Charlie from WRT.
Yeah, this was a question for Director Weir. I know that the school is last days classes before winter break. What are your school plans for the rest of the week, and what kind of community processing? Understand that you might not know yet.
Sure.
You have no
So at this time, the school is a crime scene, so the students nor staff can be on site. We want to make sure that we work in tandem with Madison Police and have them do everything that they need to do. So we will abide by their standards, and when they say we can be back in the building, we'll return back to the building. We do have a goal of trying to get our staff together here early in the week and then try to have some community opportunities for our students to reconnect before the holidays. Whether we will return to classes this week, because this was our last week, we were done on Friday, is still to be determined. I do know that there is talk of a public vigil down at the Capitol. We are so grateful that we have this amazing support from the community, and so we thank them for that. Our families will, I would guess, participate in that, and I'm sure that as we move forward, we will have more plans of what we will do specifically for them. Our focus today was the reunification of getting kids to their families.
All right, we don't have too many more. Whitney from CNN.
The parents cooperation, and I know you're reluctant to talk about it, but this one is so much to know, but have they given you any indication that they know perhaps?
They're still in interview, so we don't know what they're telling our detectives. I can only tell you that because they're still in interviews, because they're still talking, we are getting cooperation from them. As to the specifics of what they're saying, we don't know that. One of the things that we try to do, that we've learned doing interviews with people who are cooperative, is not to interrupt. And so I would not want to interrupt the interview just to give information. We'll come back a little later. If we can have more information, we'll do that.
So I'm going to skip now to today's. And see where we are up to. And how much we've skipped already. Oh no, hang on. That's the one. That's not today's. Is that today's? Oh, that's the most recent one.
I have friends that have apps and they go like this, boom, on one screen. They
We'll just get straight to this one. And then we'll be all caught up pretty much. Look like this is a huge one. Oh God. There he is, Mr. Trainer. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here today. We'll be providing an additional update as we have moved now into the investigation phase of this tragic incident. I'll be making some prepared remarks and will not be taking questions. My name is Chief Sean Barnes, SHONBARNES, and I'm the Chief of Police for the Madison Police Department. The past 24 hours have been a flurry of emotion, sadness, anger, disappointment, grief for the Madison community. We were brought together by a tragedy, and today 3 families woke up this morning to a world without a loved one, and that can never be outdone. In the midst of this tragedy, our community has come together in an incredible demonstration of support from Madison and indeed the state of Wisconsin and our nation. I cannot express enough gratitude to the many emergency response agencies who provided direct support to the Madison Police Department. We could not be standing here today without the men and women of law enforcement, specifically the Madison Fire Department, surrounding EMS agencies, Dane County Sheriff's Office, Monona PD, Oregon PD, the University of Wisconsin Police Department, the ATF, the FBI, Fitchburg Police Department, and Cottage Grove. A special thank you from me to all of these agencies. Thank you so much. These agencies and many others responded to the scene and or took calls for service within the city of Madison to allow us to focus on this tragic incident. Student reunification with their loved ones could not have happened as swiftly as it did without the assistance of SSM Health Dean Medical Clinic, as well as the Quick Trip. Additionally, many people worked well into the night and supported local restaurants and community who came together and provided food and other logistical support for our team. Yesterday, we came together as one team, as one Madison, as one country, and we should feel incredibly proud about our response. I'll be providing some updates at this time, but before I do that, I'd like to provide an important clarification. Yesterday, after looking at the computer-aided dispatch system, it seems as if a call came from a second grader. It actually read, the call came from a second grade teacher. That was a mistake. That's my responsibility, and I apologize, and I clarify that today. It did not come from a second grader. It read second grade teacher. I will also be providing several investigative updates from the 8 p.m. briefing from last night. The Madison Police Department is committed to transparency and will continue to release information that can be used to improve public safety. This must be balanced against our commitment to the victims of this horrific crime and the need to do a thorough and complete investigation. As a result, I recognize many of you may have questions that I cannot answer at this time. I ask for you to keep the victims in your mind and respect their right to a thorough investigation. I also will not be taking questions at the conclusion of this press conference, but your pre-submitted questions serve as the basis for updates that we're providing for you this afternoon. If your question is not answered, it is due to an ongoing investigation. Okay. We know a document has been widely shared on social media. At this time, we cannot verify its authenticity. We have detectives working today to determine where this document originated and who actually shared it online. At this time, we cannot verify the document. We ask that you not share the document or spread any information that may be false. Our department will provide an update on this document when we can.
They've only shared 2 pages of it.
There are always
And most,
signs
well,
of a
I
school
don't know
shooting
anyone
before they
that's
occur.
read it.
Some of you have reached out about Rupnow's social media activity prior to yesterday's shooting. We're looking into her online activity. We're asking anyone who knew her or who may have insights into her feelings leading up to yesterday to please contact the Madison Area Crime Stoppers. Again, anyone who may have known her or knew what she
I
was
definitely
feeling
don't
or
think
going
it could
through
be a
at that time,
boyfriend, though.
please direct those inquiries to Madison Area Crime Stoppers. That number is 608-266-6014 or at P3 Tips. P3 Tips. We will not be releasing specifics about these social media accounts at this time. Identifying a motive is our top priority, but at this time, it appears that the motive was a combination of factors. Again, we cannot share that information at this time because we do not want to jeopardize the investigation and those who are currently cooperating with us. All patient status remain unchanged. The 911 calls are the record of the 911 Communications Center, and their standing operating procedure is not to release documents in open and active investigations. Again, we are working to authenticate the documents that you see online that some are referring to as a manifesto. And as soon as we do that, we will let you know. Now, the process for doing that is looking at original documents that may have been taken from the suspect's home, looking at information that may be on laptops or on computer to determine if this document originated from our suspect. Any disciplinary records would be under the purview of the school. Some of you have asked whether or not she was troubled or whether or not she was troubled at school. We do not have those records. We are not the proprietor of those. On the question of bullying, we're talking to students to understand whether bullying was one of those multiple factors that I mentioned earlier. Some have asked if people were specifically targeted. Everyone was targeted in this incident, and everyone was put in equal danger. Today, numerous MMSD schools were targeted by false threats, often known as swatting. We're working closely with the Madison Metropolitan School District to determine where these originated and to investigate this call. We do not believe that there are any current threats to any Madison area schools, and will continue to investigate these calls and any threats of violence as they come in. Let me be clear on this point. Making false threats is a crime, and we are working with the district attorneys to prosecute these crimes as information is gathered. And if we have to do that, we certainly will. I encourage all parents, all family members to talk to your loved ones about this. We will determine where they originated. We'll use federal partners if we have to and levy those charges as well. As we continue to investigate what happened yesterday, we're keeping the victims and their families in the front of our minds. We want to thank the countless people and organizations who've reached out to support them, as well as the Dane County Victim Witness Unit and the Dane County Emergency Management, who provided direct support to the families. To the Abundant Life Christian Academy, this is a hurting and haunting situation, and the many survivors will need our continued support, and we pledge to give them that in the days, months, and even years ahead. As a community, we must not allow violence or any act of violence to define us. We refuse to allow hate or destruction to win in this city, but rather we will honor our survivors, our victims through love, support, and the Madison way. Please continue to take care of yourself and take care of each other. At this time, we have several officers who are working today, who was working yesterday. They were given the opportunity to stay home on what we commonly refer to as an administrative day. They were offered peer support, emergency assistance program through our city. But those officers chose to come to work today and serve their community. So at the end of my remarks, I'm going to find each and every one of them and personally shake their hand and thank them on behalf of a grateful city, on a grateful administration, and a grateful department and profession for their act of selfless public service. Thank you.
I want to start where the chief ended, which is just asking everyone in this room and within the sound of my voice to take a minute. It's been an incredibly difficult 24 plus hours at this point in time. We're all human, including each and every one of you in the media who is covering this really tragic event. Please remember that you're human and take care of yourselves. We all need to do that. Drink water. Take a moment.
Really?
Access whatever mental health resources you need. Because that's our job now, is to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other and our community. Yesterday, the Madison community experienced a terrible and traumatic event. If there's any positive in it, it's that the educators at Abundant Life, our local law enforcement and first responders, and our community partners were prepared to respond. They acted without hesitation to protect our children, and I'm grateful and humbled by their actions. It's a day that I hoped never would come to our city, but like so many other communities, here we are. We will never be the same, but we will get through this together. I want to ask again that everyone, please respect the privacy of the victims, their families, and those in the Abundant Life community. Right now, our full focus is on caring for those impacted. First and foremost, the victims and their families, the Abundant Life students and educators, our first responders, the students and educators across the city who woke up this morning and went into a school building, not knowing if they would come home tonight.
They do that every
The
day.
bravery of that act. I think all of our students and educators are feeling scared and vulnerable right now. We are also trying to care for our whole community because I believe we are all fearful and grieving and impacted.
They've
City of
had that
Madison
fear
is
for a
working
long
closely with
time.
Dane County, with community partners, with state and federal government resources to provide support and counseling to all those affected. I want to direct folks to a new city resource website that's available at cityofmadison.com/resources, which includes trauma-informed community resources, updates, community mental health resources, and information about vigils, other public events, and where folks can donate to support the Abundant Life families in our community. I want to highlight two things that are also on that website. And once again, that website is cityofmadison.com/resources. If you wish to support the families, the request is that come in the form of financial support through a site set up by the United Way of Dane County. You can visit unitedwaydanecounty.org, or you can text HELP for ALCS to 40403. Again, that's HELP numeral 4 ALCS to 40403. The community is also invited to a vigil tonight by the Vel Phillips statue at the Capitol at 6 p.m. Again, that's at the Capitol building by the Vel Phillips statue at 6 p.m. I would ask that everyone, and particularly the folks in this room, please avoid spreading misinformation, particularly via social media. Please vet what you share, even if your wish to share is well-intentioned. There's so much that we do not know at this point, and we have to allow law enforcement the time and space for a careful and methodological investigation. Let them do their jobs. And above all, please respect the victims, respect the families, respect the school community, particularly on social media. I want to say a huge thank you again to all of our partners and those across the country who have reached out offering support and well wishes, including President Biden, who I talked to yesterday, Senator Baldwin, who I talked to yesterday, Congressman Pocan, Governor Evers, who called, and many others at every level.
So I'm going to end that press conference there because it's quite long-winded. They're going to bring someone else in. We got the main facts from the guy who's not taking questions afterwards. Usually, if there's questions, then we hang around for some of the questions. Drink waters. It's like, drink water. Because at the end of the day, right, the US are in this situation where their kids go to school every single day, living in fear that this can happen. And why? Because it has to be inbred in their heads what they need to do in the event of a mass shooting in their school. And then most of them go to school now with bulletproof backpacks. And those bulletproof backpacks are ingrained in their minds. So the fact that they could die at school is ingrained in their minds. So not only do the children have life to deal with and the stresses of trying to get through school and passing their tests and exams and, you know, their learning and all the stresses for a kid, often leading to other mental health issues growing up, stress, anxiety, and all those things. They've then got this added pressure on where, geez, you know, I need to know what I need to do. This is a reality for me. I would be paranoid as hell, affecting their mental health. So their mental health from school is it's doomed. Their mental health is doomed before they've even got to school, out of school, gone to college, grown up and become an adult. So it's no wonder, right, that some of these children are going to these schools and they're wanting to unalive themselves, and then they get fixated on these school shooters because they're obviously a big thing. It's a big issue in the US, and they go back to the Columbine shooters. It go, you know, and you know, Nicholas Cruz is going to be another one that somebody takes in and idolizes at some point. And they have that ingrained in their minds as they grow up, and you're going to have someone else. There will be someone else out there today, as I'm sitting here speaking to you now. There will be somebody else there planning the next mass school shooting. And what's going to happen here is they're all going to go, yeah, we need to look after our mental health. Oh, yes, we need prayers and we need thoughts. And, you know, I'm not religious at all, and I respect people's religious beliefs, but it's the same as anything else. Where, you know, it's the same as being a weapon holder. Where has that got you? Nowhere, apart from, you know, thousands of dead people through gun crime, and almost 500 mass shootings this year in the US. So when you have these incidences, they're like, yeah, we need to change something. We need to make our schools safer. We need to do this. We need to do that. But on the other hand, we mustn't have a metal detector because that's pretty scary shit. So is having a bulletproof backpack. So is having a bulletproof backpack. So is knowing that every day that you go to school, that today could be the day a shooter comes in. You know? And so your mental health for your children is doomed. And so this is going to continue to happen. And your guns are still not going to continue to protect you. And I mean, look at the people when they've been in, say, like a supermarket, and some disgruntled employee has come in and decided he's going to shoot the market up because his boss has peed him off. So he comes in. The guns didn't serve you well there either, because people die. People die in those situations. And so this isn't going to change. So your prayers and thoughts are no good. Saying we need to change things is no good, because it's great saying, yeah, we need to change things. We need to make this place safer. We need our kids to feel safer, but they're never going to feel safe ever. The only ones that might feel safe are the ones whose parents are taking them up the shooting range there and training them how to use them and letting them know where the weapon is. And there's probably going to be an ex-school shooter. Ethan Crumbley is another one. And yes, one step forward is let's punish the parents of the school shooters. I'm surprised there's not been an outcry of that yet, because obviously, that might affect the amendment right to have a weapon, because then you're telling us what we can and can't do with our weapon. I can just see where this would all go. It's all noise. It's all bullshit noise. It's all BS. Nothing is going to change. Someone out there today is writing their manifesto, and we were going to be having this discussion again for the next school shooting, and there may be more casualties, there may be more deaths. In fact, there probably will be more deaths, because what they'll do is try to do one better than the last one, and try and do a relatively what we call decent job. I mean, they got there in 3 minutes and had the unalive and not took themselves out. Then 3 minutes, sorry, had the unalive and not took themselves out, they would have took her out. But at this point, that's 3 people dead now, isn't it? 3 people that didn't need to be, 3 people that prayers and thoughts didn't help, 3 people that your gun laws haven't helped, and they're not going to be the only ones. And you mark my words, there'll be one very, very quickly. In January, February, there'll be another school shooting. Someone who spent time writing a manifesto, who's planned it, who's going to be the next Eric and Dylan, or the next Nicholas Cruz, or the next, Uvalde shooter, the next Ethan Crumbley. They'll be there written. It's written. And what the parents doing? Why are the parents not even aware that this is going on? And sadly, they will probably have been up the shooting ranges as well. So you can't help anyone that doesn't want to be helped. And I fear the reality is, in the US, they don't want the help, because their guns are more important than their children. And it's been proven time and time again. And the reason why these people, the mayor and, politicians, they'll make all the noises. Yeah, we need to make this right, and things are going to have to improve. But what have they actually done? Oh, well, we'll just sling in some, bulletproof backpacks now. That's the norm. Oh, we'll just sling in some metal detectors, make that the norm. They're not actually solving the problem. They're just putting band-aids around the problem so that they can try and prevent it from coming into the school. But let me tell you, if they want to get those weapons in that school, they're absolutely going to get those weapons in that school. And this is a sad event, really sad event. But we can't complain. Well, I can, because I'm not in the US, and I don't believe that we should be afforded the same privileges as you guys in the US. I don't think you should be afforded the privileges in the US to have such things. But you can't complain and want change but not make changes, and that's the problem. Nobody wants changes. We've asked you when we've interviewed people, what would you do? Anything, absolutely anything we would. Oh, right, okay, so what about disarming and making it, changing the gun laws? Absolutely not. Okay, So that's a no-go then. What about if we do some like fingerprinting or palm reading? So the only person who can access the adult's weapon is the adult who owns it. No, don't really like that idea. So it's like, well, what will you do? Because that's two things you've just shot right down there. Like you've just poo-pooed them out the window. Not happening. So you wouldn't do everything. As a parent, I would be mortified to send my kids to school. My kids can go to school quite happily. I don't have to worry about this. They don't need a bulletproof backpack, and for that, I'm grateful. Yes, we have, jabbings in the UK, and yes, there is the occasional shooting. You're never going to stop crime, but what you can stop is these mass shootings. I mean, in the summer, some adult decided to drive past the children's play pool, splash pool area, and fire their weapon at innocent children. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I always get on my high horse because it really upsets me that no one wants to change anything, and that the only thing we've got is thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and bloody prayers. Well, thoughts and bloody prayers isn't helping anyone, and neither is, sticking band-aids on things, so that we can try and stop them getting into school. If someone wants to come in, they're coming in. That's it. But that's their cross to bear. It's not my cross to bear. We're just here to report on the information as we get it. Now, I don't know if this manifesto, like they said, that they're talking about. I haven't read the manifesto, and from what you can see, you can't really see it on the screen at all. But the manifesto is out all over social media. So I don't know whoever shared it, if that's where it's come from. There is an alleged Discord of this girl's. Usually there is truth behind it. Usually the armchair detectives from the US, they're usually in there. They find these things. They found the dad within minutes, and they posted his Facebook and socials, which, at that point it's out there. But they do, and they get it out there, and it gets on X, and it gets on all the other platforms. So his socials are out there for everyone. This manifesto, not all of it is there, but some of it is there. We've had an insight into if this is the manifesto, what we're dealing with. It's just the police at the minute aren't going to confirm. I think they know probably the answer. They're just not going to confirm it for us just yet. So, it's not great in the UK. Don't get me wrong. We've got things. There's nowhere's perfect, but I tell you, we're doing a lot better. Yeah, there are some people that still have a weapon, but it's heavily, heavily vetted. And people are like, the other thing they say is, oh, well, I need it for a home invasion. Well, when was your last home invaded? Never. That makes no sense to me then, because you've never had a home invasion. It's not like it's a weekly occurrence or anything. And then the other thing is, well, you've got knives. Well, yeah, we've got knives. But do you know what? Give me a pick and I'll run from the knife, but I can't outrun a bullet. At least that would give me a chance. But we've only ever had to deal with this massively on a school level scale. That one time we learned. And then they go, well, we can't just change our laws like that. It just doesn't work. It just would never work. Well, it won't ever work if you don't make a start. You have to make a start. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 5 minutes and overnight. It's going to take time for you to implement new laws. People ain't going to like it, but it's going to take time, and it'll be a slow process because of so many people being armed in the US. But to keep saying, well, we just can't, it's too far gone, you have to make a start, and then you make slow changes. It might not happen in your lifetime, but you know what might happen in your grandchild's lifetime, and it might save their children from their schools, because this is just going to get worse, because people are growing up with mental health issues. Even adults that perhaps when this wasn't such, well, I don't know if it ever has really since Columbine prior, but adults have mental health issues. They have stress from work. They have, if they get sacked from work, and mental health is a massive issue, and they do tend to like to use it in a court of law oh, well, my mental health was on the floor and I lost the plot in the hope that they'll get a lighter sentence or whatever. It doesn't kind of work like that. You've kind of got to have a history of it. You can't just say that you've got them. But people's mental health, especially right now with the cost of living crisis, is on the floor. But you can make a change if you want to. If people really wanted to, instead of thoughts and prayers, because that's not helping you, you need to change something. Not just talk about it and say, yeah, we need to do it. And then when this patterns down, goes quiet till the next gun crime, and then we're here again, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. And that's just my stance on it. I think it's crazy that these people can have these weapons the way they do. They're a dangerous item, and yet they can't bloody drink until they're 21, but they can go to a shoot and play with a weapon, a deadly weapon. A bit backwards, I'm not going to lie. I mean, Jesus, they can drive at 16. We have to be 17 here to take the test, to take driving lessons, to take a test. So you kind of give your youngsters lethal weapons, including a vehicle, at a very young age, but they can't have a drink until they're 21. Not that that would stop them, because we know they drink anyway. So that's where we are. So I just wanted to touch on that. We have caught up now. As I get more information in the coming hours, coming days, once I get more information, I'll do updates on my TikTok, and then I'll post the smaller videos here. But obviously, if this kind of develops into anything further, or I need to come on and do a significant bigger live, then I'll come on and do a bigger live, because I think we're going to learn more. So I do envisage that we'll probably come back and talk about it as we learn more about the shooter as well, Samantha. Don't know why she chose Samantha. Natalie's much nicer. Sorry if you're a Samantha. But I don't know why, my parents are giving me the name Natalie, but fuck that, I'm going to be called Samantha. Which, when I first, maybe that's why, I don't know why they got to transgender though, because Natalie is a female name, isn't it? But they got to transgender from that. Probably because they saw she goes by Samantha, and then probably that's where those rumours escalated. But yeah, so that's it on this case. I know it's a bit heated and I get a bit agitated, but I feel a bit passionate about it. We've seen a lot of tragedies unfold, and it's just sad, and it needs to stop. But I will be on my TikTok in about 5 minutes, and we are going to be streaming the Liam Payne documentary, because I've now got it. Woohoo! So I'm coming on a little bit earlier so that those that want to see it can see it. So I'm coming on in a few minutes just to go through that, and then we're going to talk about that, and then we're probably going to have opinions on that as well. So that being said, I'll see you here tomorrow. And we will discuss the Liam Payne case. Now, I don't know if I can stream that over here. I know it's on here because that's where I got it from. Someone's uploaded it. But whether or not it will stay here, they're not a monetized account, so it might not be affected. So I'll see what I can do tomorrow. I'll keep an eye on the one that's here, but if we can, I will. But other than that, guys, stay safe. Thoughts to the guys in the US. It is horrible, and no family should lose a loved one. And again, let's just hope we're not here anytime soon talking about another one. I don't foresee that being a thing, but I see it being a thing. But let's hope it's not too soon. And if we can get through 2025 without a mass shooting, that would be even better. Anyway, guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on TikTok. Love you all. Bye.